This is day 2 of the July 93 7-day retreat at Springwater. Several questions that have been repeatedly asked during the past meetings come to mind. One of them being, in sitting down, what shall my focus be? Or do you recommend a practice to focus the mind? Some people have even asked, what will my practice be when I get back home into the city with the noise and activity, with jobs, children, family? But right now we're here. Maybe the other will come in occasionally into a talk. But right now, in sitting down, or sitting, here we are. What shall our focus be? And what has been mentioned is either I focus on the breathing, then I can't hear the birds very well, or I concentrate on the birds, then the breathing goes, or if I listen to your talk and really concentrate on understanding what you're saying, the birds or the breeze may not be there or are not there. So what shall my focus be? What shall I concentrate on? What's the practice here? In sitting here, is it possible for a human being like you or me, for energy to gather in just being here? I may use the word in just listening openly, but by that I'm not limiting it to this auditory listening. There may be somebody here who can't hear, but that doesn't mean the senses can't be open. The mind, the body, the being can't be open. Even if one may be blind. Last retreat someone was here who was legally blind, couldn't see much. There may be someone here who can't hear. But can there be an open being here? An open listening, seeing, feeling, sensing, attending to what is actually happening, this moment, which we call the here and now. In other words, not the focus on what shall I attend to, but can there be openness and energy gathering? That's what openness is. That's what awareness is. Energy gathering. Not on a specific object or focal point inside or outside the body. Not on a word or a thought or a koan. A concept like loving compassion. But being open, or if you say, wait a minute, what sits here is a closed lump, then being that for a careful starter, because we may be more thinking of ourselves as a closed up lump than actually being that. So can we discover on this mat, in walking quietly, in this room, in the rooms up the hill, wherever, or eating quietly, sitting on the porch, can we discover the immense, awesome power of words and concepts on our state of being? All the things we say to ourselves about ourselves that we can't do, that we're not good at, that we have to attain in the future, that we've always been like, or that we want to change into. The power of those words and concepts and images on our present state of being. It's not easy because we're so used to our present state of being that we think very entrenchedly, this is what we are. Most of the time we are what we think we are. We think we're unhappy, so the body feels like a drag. We think we're happy or good at something, and those thoughts generate some energies throughout the body. I can't obviously give all the examples for every one of us sitting here, but it is observable. All of a sudden, there it is, a thought went through the mind. This time it was seen, felt, it became transparent, and the whammo in the solar plexus or the intestines, the heart starts beating at the thought of something I have to do and I haven't done, haven't prepared for yet. People tell me that often in the solarium, which is still called the waiting line, that word, I don't like it. It's powerful. I'm waiting for something to happen. In front of two closed doors, that idea also has power. So sitting there in the solarium, people tell me the heart starts beating faster and faster as one approaches that seat, which is the next one in. And people tell me this, friends tell me this who've been here for 10 years, know me back at the Zen Center. We're friends. We've laughed together and watched a video together, eaten birthday cake together. And yet here, the thought, I'm next. I got to see her. She's my teacher, or she's whatever the mind projects that she is. Something ancient. That's what the mind projects. Something from the past, from the personal past or the impersonal past, which also floats around in fields, so they tell us today. Memory not just located in the brain, but contained in invisible fields. That makes a lot of sense. And those memories now being triggered by this particular situation of sitting in front of double closed doors, next one in line, there to say something, or maybe to be questioned. It's all very vague. The heart can beat to very vague stimulation of memories. I'll have to prove myself. Oh, all the stuff. Listen to it as you sit there, if this is what happens. And not, if one thinks, I shouldn't feel this way, this is ridiculous, then you won't be interested in it, in finding out what conglomerate of thoughts and feelings and sensations and memories and anticipations keep this heart pounding and the intestines churning. And just watching it is not the same as living it without attention, because then it becomes a real threat, a real test, a real this or that. Thought can masquerade for reality, as though it was representing something real. So in sitting, what am I to attend to? What is my practice to be? I don't use the word practice, but it is a popular word, and the word that we have come upon here, which is work, isn't much better either. In three different languages that the book, Work of This Moment, has been translated, the publisher refused to use the word work. Said it's misleading. People don't like work. We want to sell the book. Because both the word work, the word practice, imply the repetitive, the strenuous, the effort, the striving toward something. Practice more so than work. That's why I settled on the word work. And the grind of it. If I do it often enough, maybe I'll get someplace. People who come from different traditions really query me. Are you sure it won't get us someplace if we do practice over the years? Try to become more concentrated in a practice. Because this is what the teachers of traditions have proclaimed. And what can I say? Try it. But when you come here, experiment. Oh, I never dissuade somebody from doing what they would like to do, but people themselves are doubtful, wondering about repetitive practice. And very often have engaged in it in a long time and it hasn't brought a result. Well, that same can be said for this thing. Maybe what needs to be questioned and brought to light is this craving for a result. The result being a happier life, more joy, less pain, no suffering. Wisdom, enlightenment, love, compassion. To become a better person. To feel at peace. All of this, what I'm mentioning right now, is conceptual, isn't it? It's conceptual and projected into a conceptualized future. Because there's no future right now. There's just birds singing and it's getting warmer from the left. Heart beating, breath flowing. a breeze, cool, sensations throughout the body. Is one in touch with sensations throughout the body? Not just the breathing. The breathing affects the ribs. If there's a deep breath, right now I took a deep breath. The coolness on the skin, the pleasantness of it. Feels particularly cool if there are little moisture beads on the skin. Can those be felt? A few people were stretching, doing stretching exercises. Is there pain in the knees, the back, the neck, the shoulders? Can that be felt in a simple way? Sound of a truck or whatever that is, heard in a simple way. Simple meaning, even though conceptualization about it arises, particularly since somebody is using words to name it. Simple meaning, even though conceptualization arises, it becomes increasingly clear that the pain in the back is not a concept. The cool breeze is not just a word, is it? The deep breath, the feeling of the lungs expanding, is not just words, is it? So what is it when it's not just words? It's there. It's experienceable. Without words, the words come up, but not to dwell on those. Usually, this is where we dwell, is in the kingdom of words. But there is this whole realm of just being, warm, cold, hot, achy, queasy in the stomach, or hungry. The mind projecting something to eat, and the gastric juices start flowing, the saliva flows at the imagination of food, or the imagination of a lover. All kinds of things start up in the body. Can one be with what is going on in this organism, which is a mysteriously functioning affair? We think we own it, we think it's ours, our body, mine. But we wouldn't know the first thing about even beating the heart, circulating the blood, mending a cut. We don't know anything about it. Of course, we may be scientists, medical researchers, and we can talk about it and also do a lot of things to heal, to aid the mending, or to keep a wound open, even with leeches. But we're really not in control of this mysterious universe which is this human body. It functions in ways that we cannot fathom. Until very recently, very little was known about the immune system, and a system so intelligent, so complex, that even with all the charts that were in the magazines about all of these different agents, I couldn't understand it or remember it. And yet here it is functioning. Or maybe not functioning, because it has all kinds of receptors and producers of chemicals. Not just the brain transmits information, the organs do too. This has been found very recently, so I read, last 15 years, what is called neurotransmitters, a thought converting itself into chemicals that send information to organs and glands. And a system like the immune system producing the same chemicals as were started by the brain. One person who described this said, when there is grieving, it's not just the head and heart that's grieving. The immune system too is grieving. Therefore we fall ill so easily. Immune system says, leave me alone, I'm grieving. Now these are human interpretations and explanations, but can one get in much more intimate touch with this organism? Not to explain it and analyze it, but to be in touch with it, to feel it functioning. We said yesterday that our century-old Christian upbringing, I don't know whether the Judeo is part of that, and other religions may be similar, others are different, has said stay away from this body, has looked down on the body. Everything valuable happens from the neck on up, where we can imagine our religious symbols and worship them and perpetuate them. So, and I'm putting stress on it because for myself and so many people who have shared this to me, have shared this with me, they say, once I got more in touch with this body, something opened up that had been closed before. Unfelt, numb, dead. And the flowering of schools of body work and exercise and martial arts and everything has to do with this reawakening of the human body to awareness. Because in a lot of the body work or martial arts, other exercises, maybe it's not stressed in calisthenics or so, but in a lot of these others, the permeation of the body with awareness of what's going on is an integral part. Not just working on this body, getting it in shape, or having it be worked on by someone else, but the mutuality of mind and body, of awareness and sensation is a wondrous thing. So, in saying in sitting down, what shall my focus be? Let's say, is the body there, or is it just sort of a numb, ignored thing? Or is it with listening and awareness of the senses, the senses becoming aware together, open? Is it coming to life? Not necessarily to pleasurable sensations. Usually, if the body has been numbed, often for traumatic reasons experienced in childhood, traumatic punishments or assaults or whatever, if it starts coming to life again, becoming aware, the first thing that's felt is pain. Forgotten, repressed, numbed out pain. One person told me that so dramatically, I'll never forget it. She went to some intensive course on body awareness, and her whole numbed out childhood came to life in intensely felt pain, and she was exalted, ecstatic. She was not a masochist. It was not that kind of ecstasy. It was feeling something, being alive. She told me all her childhood and all her adult life, she's now in her 30s, she had always felt that she lived in the most peaceful family. There was never any argument or quarrels or fights that she could remember. Everybody was nice, but as a facade. It was a family of facades, sharing space together, without feelings. They were all covered up through niceties that one said to each other and about other people. So, where are we? Sitting down, trying to feverishly focus on one spot in the body. And Zen is the hara here, this area. And in yoga, maybe the point between the two eyes or on top of the head. Some practices focus on the heart. Or will one just allow this body to come awake in whichever way it will? By come awake, I mean be felt, without ignoring it and without wallowing in it. Because that's already concepts, imagination coming in. This is bad, I shouldn't, the body, and so forth. Or this is wonderful. How marvelous, thoughts supplying more sensations and sensations creating more thoughts. If that happens, can that be observed? How sensations and thoughts or emotions mutually build each other up to stronger and stronger pitches. It's particularly observable with anger, remembering something somebody did to me, said to me, or didn't do for me. The event is long past, but if it comes to memory, what happens? The body manifests something that we call anger, and the more we think about it, and the more we verbalize about it, how could he have done this to me? I should have told him off. So the storyline, the dialogue or whatever evolves, and with that, the whole body is aflame with agitation. It happened to a woman once. We were at Camp Ananda still. She remembered something that had happened 5 years ago, and she packed her bags and left to give him a piece of her mind, which she never had. Only at the station did she realize what she was doing. She came back. More wise for this whole scenario. Lived as though it was still real, and the power, the energy of it. She said, I'm glad I didn't get there. So, sitting down, of course, the thought, the concept is clear mind. Mind without thoughts. This is what one has read and heard ad infinitum. The mind needs to be clear, without thoughts, to be in touch with the eternal, or nirvana, or enlightenment, the immensity, wholeness. We've used words like this too. So now, the check-in mechanism, which exists in the brain, it can check in on itself. How am I doing? Says a little voice, or is sort of the posture. How am I doing? And of course, there's nothing but thoughts. a chaos of thoughts. Thoughts about this and thoughts against that, thoughts against each other. Thoughts saying, don't think, which is also thought. How can I get to this thoughtless state, and sort of rummaging in the files for past things one may have done to get rid of these thoughts, to attain this conceptualized state of no thought, the tranquil waters of the pond, without any skimmers making traces. Is it altogether crazy or unheard of or inappropriate to ask, why not be with this whole chaos of thoughts? Because that's what's there. Just as the sensations are there, we went into this a little bit, so are the thoughts and the conflicts and the emotions tied up with it. One wouldn't be aware of thoughts being there if there wasn't a brief awakening from thoughts, from fantasy. Without that brief, or ever so brief awakening, there would be just like the woman packing her bags and going to give him a piece of her mind. But the mind does wake up to its condition, to its state. And it's a very crucial moment in the being of the mind. A very crucial moment where there is some waking up to what's happening, which you can give any kind of a name. Waking up or attention, awareness. Coming to, I sometimes say. Coming to. Thoughts in the mind. And maybe at the same time the winds moving the leaves and branches. And the cooling sensation on the skin. Breathing. Movement of skin and bones as the breathing takes place, maybe the belly in and out, whichever way one is breathing. If it was like that, it would be very simple. Coming to, and everything is there. That before wasn't there because of the involvement of thoughts and emotions and fantasies and the action, I'll get him. But it seems that nothing is simple for human beings. Because there is this amazing power to complicate things. The power not just of thought, but of thought having been conditioned, not just for our brief lifetime, but for hundreds of thousands of years. The conditioning of thought has gone on for human beings. And the memory habit of this may be stored not just in this brain, but in fields, invisible fields, connecting us. And one of the powerful habits of thought, conditioned for centuries, is don't do what you're doing, do something else. This is wrong. Something else is right. Or find a method to get where you want to go. Man, the tool maker, or human being, the tool maker, the method maker, all facilitated by the power of thought. To imagine the goal and imagine ways of getting there, and then submitting to that, which is being asleep again on a new track, waking up for a moment from fantasy, for a moment the breeze, the birds, the breathing, but maybe not even that. Immediately, don't think. Practice. Do something. At this moment, the tension is gone. We're in the habit again. Or, to not put it so dualistically, habit has taken over from a brief moment of just there-ness, here-ness, now-ness. So, since we're talking about it and very interested in this brief moment, is it possible coming to, waking up, and becoming aware of just about entering into another train of thought, just about carried away by the do and don't, right and wrong, effort, practice, goal, comparison, evaluating the state? This is no good, because the mind should be limpid as a quiet pond. Can that come into awareness? All the programs rushing in, all the commands, the do's, the don'ts, the threats, the promises, and their power to feel bad, to feel hopeful, to exert oneself, to become somebody. Which all complicates this simplest of all moments of just waking up to remembered thoughts and fantasies still reverberating in the mind. And the wind and birds, and breathing and physical sensations. And energy gathering in just wondering about what is going on now, rather than determining what should be done to get someplace else. And I'm not saying you should stay with a moment, because then this becomes a new blameworthy thing, because we haven't stayed with a moment. We're on the train again. It's a question. It's a simple question. And experience has shown that with asking simple questions of each other and of ourselves, sometimes attention brings out what's happening, reveals what's happening. Because an interest has been sparked in what is going on in this mysterious body-mind that we call mind. So, right now, what is happening? Not what should be happening. I won't say it. I won't even say what is happening, because it's happening. It doesn't need to be said. Words coming up are just habit. And there's words coming up as one of the things that's happening. But isn't there more than just words happening right now? And then words again. And then what else? And words again. Just to be with the whole thing. Without a focus. Just open to what's there. Even if it feels painful or miserable. Not to know it as pain or misery. Not to know it, but to feel it, to be it. Without thought tricking us into believing we're separate. By saying we are. I wouldn't believe a word. Rather not know. We will end here for today.